I am your host, Carrie, giving us different perspectives on where we are and where we want to go on our journey. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to spending some time with you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the FoundHer series. I am your host, Carrie. I'm thrilled to be here again once more with another incredible guest. I have today a treat. I feel like she's a treat because what she shares with us and what she teaches us is something that I think every woman should have a conversation about and learn about, and we can all relate to something that we're going to talk about, I am sure. I have Vicky Roubekas. She is a psychologist. She was a speaker at the previous retreat the summit that we just had in Calgary. I just resonate so much with Vicky. I believe that people come into our lives for a reason. I was introduced to her, fell in love with her immediately when we started chatting. And her vision really is about empowering women to find their truth, find their voice, connect with their bodies, and in such a loving and accepting way that I just knew that she had to be a guest on the show. So I'm going to introduce Vicky. Thank you so much for being here. We've got a lot to cover in 30 minutes. So I'm going to try to do as little talking as I can because I want to hear everything about you. So maybe start with introducing yourself and how you got into this area of work.
Yes. Great. Thank you so much, Carrie. It's wonderful being here. So for me, really, it's interesting. My story is quite a unique one, but maybe not unique to many people because we all go through similar things. But for me, it was a lifetime of kind of being disconnected from my body as a result of struggling with my weight and my weight issues. And so really, I didn't love my body and I wanted to be separate from my body. So I basically checked out. I was somebody who is and continues to be very analytical and in my head. But I learned along the way the importance of really how to tap into being more accepting of and connecting with my body, because it's a big part of who we are. And if you're not doing that, then you're kind of missing out on pretty much the majority of your life. So in terms of sexuality, obviously that's another piece, because if you can't feel into your body, how can you really engage sexually and feel comfortable in your skin and be present with your sexual experience? So for me, it's interesting. It was later in life that I got into becoming a psychologist. I was always the person that people came to, that people wanted to get advice from. And I was always doing that, but I never really thought of that as a career. I was kind of lost when it came to that. I didn't really know my purpose. And so that was also another big piece for me, not really knowing myself well and being influenced by other people, family members, my society culture of the expectation of what I should be or shouldn't be doing. So it wasn't until later in life that I realized this is what I'm supposed to be doing, through a series of events from something that happened to me. And then I was okay, I get it. So here I am doing this work. And again, because of my own personal history and background, it resonated with the type of clientele that I would work with would be very similar in nature, in terms of women who've experienced trauma, as I have, and as most people do, unfortunately, having a lot of shame around sexuality, shame around my body and sexuality, but just even shame around my body in terms of it not being enough for people, whether that's for men. Society says that if you're not a specific way of being, then look and an expectation of how you should be in terms of your sense of beauty, then somehow you don't matter. So for me, it was really important to continue to support women, to find that, to be connected with that, to support them to heal from their trauma. And I had when you talk about empowering women that resonates so greatly with me, and the importance of women having a voice, because so many women don't have a voice. They haven't been given a voice, whether it's within their family systems or whether it's, again, just circumstance or with partners. And so then as a result, women don't even know how to speak up about their own, what they want sexually.
Totally.
What is what's pleasurable, what's not pleasurable. right? Touch me here, don't touch me there. And of course, if there's trauma associated with that, then that can be extremely difficult, because often women will check out as a result of any form of trauma in terms of sexual, whether that's sexual abuse or sexual assault. They may not actually be able to be present and then be like, okay, how do I actually get back to enjoying what is innately all of us have a right to feel into and to experience, which is
that's so true. And I want to touch a little bit on the trauma, because a lot of people think that trauma, and most of it is something that has been done to them, but trauma can also be things that they didn't receive.
Oh, yes.
Right. So
100%.
I just want to make sure that we have that point, because a lot of people are like, oh, I've never had trauma in my life.
Yes.
And not that you want to say, yes, you have. There are just, there's so many different
layers,
ways of processing things that have happened or haven't happened.
Yes.
You didn't receive the love, you didn't receive something, along with other traumatic events. I know personally, I was the same. Mine was at 12 years old, and it just did something to the disconnecting of I think my heart and my head, my body. There was really no connection there. And I went through many, many years, and I still struggle with that. It was like a numb feeling. So you're not only numbing out the parts that you don't like, you're numbing out the good parts too.
Oh, yes, 100%.
So I just wanted to get that. There's a double side there. If you're numb, it can be both ways. If there's trauma, it can be, so many different areas. So I love that you're helping women find their voice and just get back in touch with, and the permission to understand what we want, for one thing, and then having the courage to say what we want. That's huge.
Yes. And when we talk about trauma, like I like to talk about trauma in terms of like big T, little t. So big trauma events, right? Accidents, as I said, sexual abuse, sexual assault, those would be big T's. But there's little t traumas. And those are the things that you're talking about, where you've been rejected, right? Where you've had a boyfriend or several boyfriends reject you or cheat on you, or you haven't received the love, like you said. That is a trauma response, which then again is still, I like to call them wounds, because people still don't like to use the word trauma, but whatever the case, however you want to put it for yourself, those things that you've experienced, what ends up happening is then you start creating limiting beliefs about yourself. And so those limiting beliefs are what stop you from moving forward or really recognizing your truth. So as an example, and our limiting beliefs are subconscious. They're basically running beneath the surface if you don't have an awareness of it. So if you've been rejected, you may be saying like, well, I'm not enough, or I'm not lovable, right? And those things keep you perpetuating in terms of how you see yourself. And then you get stuck in a pattern that says like, I'm this thing that is like running subconsciously, or you have an awareness of it, or you speak about it even then, but you buy into that belief system and you don't recognize that that's not true. Because usually our traumas happen in a much younger state, and then we turn into adults and they're still running, and then we're like, whoa, I'm still buying into this. And when I can recognize like, no, actually, that's not reality. That's not true. I have so much more to offer. And of course, sometimes those things have to be worked through in therapy. And sometimes you can work on your own and do your own work, but oftentimes you may need the support of a counselor or a therapist to help you to unpack those things and release some of the trauma, especially if it's a big T trauma.
Yeah. And that's a great point, is asking for help. And I just think it's such a vulnerable thing, and there's such a stigma around. I'm hoping that's getting better. The more conversations we have like this and putting it out there, that this is not a shameful thing to do, to ask for help or to go to therapy, that's what you are there for.
Yes.
I just wish more people would take advantage of that. And you're right. Doesn't matter if it's a big T, little t, somebody to talk to that can help you unpack some of those limiting beliefs that, like you said, they're running in the background. We don't even know that they're there.
Yeah. And the problem is that people get because people are buying into, they don't get it somebody else's perspective. And to have somebody that doesn't know you, that can actually give you their perspective, it helps the brain to actually buy into the new learning and the new lessons and the understanding, like, oh, like you can say to something to somebody, and they may have heard it 5,000 times, but because you're a specialist, you're somebody who does this, is all of a sudden your brain goes like, oh, okay, I get it. It's actually, oh, that makes sense. Something clicks for people. And that's what it is. Truly, that's what therapy is. It is just allowing permission to unpack stuff and have somebody have insights that you may not be seeing. Give you some clarity and go like, is that really the case, or is it this?
Yeah.
Are you sure that's that? Well, you're telling me this. However, you're saying that you actually do all these things. So what is it? Which one is it? Are you those things, or are you not? Right. And then they'll go like, whoa, and they need that aha moment to be like, oh, wow. Right.
Yes. Yep. So true. So that's what a lot of your work is around. Are you finding that you've been doing it, for how long?
So I came into this career a little bit later life. So I'm going on to 9 years now.
Yeah. And are you seeing any sort of shifts? What are you seeing in this period? Or is it really you're dealing with a lot of the same things, but just in a different?
Yeah. What I say is, because you're seeing different clients and new clients, so new clients are coming in, and people are coming in at different phases in their own, therapy process. Some people have never seen a therapist, and they're like 50 plus years old. Some people, and they're working on their big T trauma. Some people have been seeing therapists all along, and they're unpacking different things. So it just depends on where the client is at and what state they're at, where they're at in their own level of healing. And for me, because it's really important to me, my also background is a little bit more spiritual in nature. I'm also a shamanic practitioner and a Reiki master. And I connect more with spirituality as a piece to bring into therapy, which I think is important holistically. So then as a result, I'm also seeing clients who are attuned spiritually, and that can be extremely supportive in their healing work.
And that's another, in my opinion, a bonus of what you provide, because you've got your, would you call it scientific background, or your education?
Yes.
Psychologist, but you've also got that spiritual side, which I think me personally think it's a beautiful combination.
Yes.
And because you have an understanding, not just in one part, but in both, and you can just how they overlap, and you can, I just think you being able to offer that is just another added level of.
And I love that part, because it is a big part of who we are. I mean, if we're not connecting, I'm not saying you have to, and again, people get confused. Some people believe spirituality, there has to be a religion attached to it. I don't, that's not how I see spirituality. To me, spirituality really, what it means is like, again, it's about connecting within you. We're all God consciousness, right? We are God. God is within us. We are that source. We are connected to source, and we are source. So it's helping people. And that's what connecting to your body is, because unfortunately, we are always seeking out, not always, that's a pretty strong word, but many times we seek out, people who are considered our gurus or our mentors, or who have the knowledge and the skill set, or even reading a book, taking a course workshop. I don't care what it is. You are your own source of knowledge, and what is right for you. You have your own truth. Yeah. But to tap into that truth means you have to connect to your body. So if you can't connect to your body, then you're missing out on that big part of yourself to get to your own truth, connect to your higher self. And that comes from being mindful. That comes from sitting in, being mindful, sitting in meditation, just sitting and being silent and quiet and connecting with your body, feeling into your body, knowing what is your truth. And what I do is, which was what we did at the summit, is just like having somebody sit quietly and just like tapping in, doing a mental scan from the top of your body to, down to your toes, and just notice, can you notice sensations in your body? What is the sensation showing up? And just being, again, no judgment. This is non-judgmental. It is just like, how can I just have an attunement to just sit with my body? And this can be very, very difficult and very triggering for many people, just doing that alone.
Yes.
Right. So you do it very, like if it becomes triggering, then ease off, and then,
Right.
then come back to it. Because
that's what I was going to ask you is how does somebody even start on this journey? So when you talk about that, sitting in the stillness, I know for me that was very hard.
Yeah.
And then somebody recommended that I just light a candle and I just focus on the flame, so that it takes your mind off. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not doing this right. I'm thinking about other things. It's just like, we just got to calm our minds for a moment. And the candle really helped me. I don't need it now, but, and it was just like, even for a couple of minutes, like you say, you don't need,
it doesn't have to be long.
30 minutes of sitting.
No.
It's like, I mean, people, that's hard.
Yeah. And it's important to know that people believe that they have to turn, like their brain's going to shut down. We'll have too many thoughts. Your brain is never going to shut down. That's the way the brain works. You are always going to have thoughts. But the idea is that it's going to quiet those thoughts the more you do it and the more you increase it. But this is what's going to happen, is because when people disconnect from their body as a result of something, whether it's limiting beliefs, they don't like their body, they've had trauma, or they've had an inability to connect with their emotions because they were sensitive maybe as children and their parents told them to shut down their emotions because they couldn't deal with them. Kids learn really, really quickly, my emotions are too much for somebody, so I'm going to turn them off. Right? Or I've had an experience where emotions were too intense and I didn't like the way it felt. I'm going to shut them down and then shove them. So then they just keep pushing them down, don't feel their emotions. But then as a result, they don't have a connection to that. So now when they're actually doing that, it's going to feel uncomfortable, because now the brain sits in silence, goes like, all those things that you didn't actually want to feel, I'm going to now start bringing to the surface. And we store things in our body. All of our trauma that we haven't processed out, we hold in our body. And as a result, when we're sitting in a body part, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but it can happen. Like if you do yoga as an example, and you're sitting in a yoga move, and then all of a sudden people are like, I don't understand what's going on, but I burst into tears. I go, yeah, you're releasing. You're releasing that stuckness of it's an energy piece of that energy that you held in that body part. And again, it doesn't matter where it is, because people don't understand. Like I tell people, you can have it in your big toe. Yeah. You can store it anywhere in your body. It's not like, oh, it's always going to be my stomach or my heart's going to be broken. No, I go, you store energy wherever your body wants to store it. Yes. And you can tap into it through any way. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, it's just like a floodgate has opened. Yeah. And that can be scary for people to tap into that part of themselves and then be like, now what do I do with this?
Yes, for sure. And that's where somebody like you comes in that helps them process it, right?
Yes.
I know that I've learned that as well and studied it with the emotions being stuck in our body. Yes. And like you said, it can be anywhere. It doesn't need to be a specific place. But what I love about learning that, I don't understand it, but I'm learning. But I think what I love the most is that it can be released. Yes. There is hope. Yes. You don't have to be subject to all of that if you're willing to do the work. And it is scary. And when I started to do it, it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm fine the way I am. I don't need to figure all this out. But once you start and you see what the benefits are, you go a little bit more, and you're very gentle on yourself. You give yourself a lot of grace. I use that word a lot because I think people going through this process need to give themselves a lot of grace and just be so proud that they're taking a step. Yes. And it's possible. I think that's the biggest thing, is there is hope. It's possible to work through that. It really does change your life when you get all of that energy moving and released. And there's just more for you out there if you're willing to do the work. So some examples then. So if you were to have somebody come in that just wants to maybe start part of a spiritual practice or some exercises that they would start. I'm talking somebody that's just, dipping their toe in is like, okay, I don't even know where to start. Right. So So what would you recommend? In terms of like healing work, or in terms of just connecting with some? I think well, we're talking about connecting with our body. So I mean, I know that there's a lot to it, but just yeah, some simple might not be the right word, but some beginner exercises. If we just want to start, how do we tap into that intuition? How do we tap into what our body actually feels,
Right. So like what I like to do is like your body is going to display what feels good for you, right? And what doesn't feel good for you. So an easy, small little thing that you can do to start connecting with your intuition and to seeing is that it would be what I tell people to do is like, again, just close your eyes and just take a couple deep breaths, just relax into your body. And then I tell people to think of something that's positive to them. Think of something that is like, if you have a loving dog or a holiday that you went on, something that just like brings you joy, laughter, fun, right? And then you give yourself time and just feel into it with all of your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? Right? Can you taste anything? Mm-hmm. What are the emotions that are coming up as you think about this? And what are the sensations that you're physically feeling in your body? Lightness, joy. Like if it's something positive, what I say is your body should present as that. You should feel relaxed, excited, maybe depending on the scenario. Your heart should feel open. You should be calm. And there may be some energy, like that nervous energy, but excitement, nervous energy in a good way, right? Yeah. So that's how your body should feel. So that's your body telling you. And again, your brain is brilliant. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you experiencing it currently in this moment, or having had an experience of it. As you do that exercise, you will get all of the exact same memories, emotions, sensations, feelings, taste, everything. You will have it all. That's how memory works. It's brilliant.
So it can work to our advantage too when we're thinking about the positive, not just the negative.
That in itself will bring you down. We call that a positive engaging experience. Mm-hmm. And that will help you to bring you to even just like help you to be calm after, if you're struggling with something, even just bringing up your positive engaging experience will shift all of that in you and just breathing while you're doing that. So then after that, then you will know this is your tell. You will know how your body feels, and everybody will be different. You will know, like, how does my body feel when I think of something positive and that brings me joy? So you will remember that. Then you put that aside, take another deep breath, and then you will think of something that is troubling or disturbing to you. So nothing too traumatic, because I don't want you to put you into a state of like crisis, but it'd be just like, I had a fight with my partner. Okay, imagine that, right? Bring it up, feel into that same memory, same thing, all of the sensations, right? How did it feel? How does it feel? What are the emotions that are coming up? And you will feel it in your body. And this is the important part. So now you will feel all of the sensations in your body that don't feel good. Right. So it'll be like likely, depending on the situation, you may upset stomach. You may feel like you're going to throw up. You may feel like you're on edge, or you need to flee because, again, it may take you into survival, fight, flight, freeze. Yeah. Your heart may be racing. You may feel anxious, nervous. Maybe you're shaking. You may feel tightness, or if you're angry, like maybe you're clenching your fists, or you feel like all of a sudden your body's super tight. You may be concaved because you're trying to hide. You may try to cover yourself because you're feeling shame. But anything that is constricting or bringing you inward is basically telling you this doesn't feel good, and that's your body displaying to you this doesn't feel good to me. So then, as a result, you can do that with anything. Yeah. So now you have your two, which is how your body responds to positive and how your body responds to and something that is uncomfortable or not a positive experience. And so now you have the ability to connect with your intuition. So you can do this for anything. So I'm not really sure if I want to take this job. I don't know if it's right for me. I have no idea. I'm not really connected to myself and my intuition. So now you have a technique to be able to do that. All you have to do is sit, close your eyes, think about this job. Think about all the aspects of the job, what you would do in the job, where the job is located, all of those things. And as you do so, your body will tell you, it will respond. It will respond to either one of those. Wow. And if it responds in the negative, with emotions that are uncomfortable, something about it is not right for you. You don't need to unpack it or know it. We try to get stuck in our head, but our head can talk us in and out of anything. Our body will not. Our body is our truth. Our body knows exactly what is right and what's not right. So it's not going to lie to you unless you have some really, really severe trauma that you haven't worked through. and
Right.
you have difficulty being able to really discern the difference.
So when you were saying that negative thing, because when you were just saying that, like, think of things that bring you joy, and I'm like, oh yeah, I just love that feeling. That's a feeling that I want to keep in there. But when you were talking about that, okay, you may have had an argument with somebody and now you're feeling those emotions. That's so that you know how it feels in your body. Then how do you release that? Is there something that, because if I'm going to get myself in that state, I don't want to stay there. So how do I?
So what I say is, what I tell people when I do this, like in session, and I do the two things, I always take them back to the positive.
Good. Okay.
So always end with the positive, go back to the positive and feel back into your positive state, right? And if it's something that is extremely troubling or disturbing, and you brought up something that's kind of intense, then if you have a therapist, go and unpack it with a therapist. If not, do some journaling around it, because that can also help release it.
Just to get it out.
Just to get it out, right? So that then just like write out the emotional state. And again, when I say journaling, there's no perfection. You are just like, let it come out. You want to do automatic writing and journaling when you're dealing with something. At the beginning, you're starting, it's just like, oh, I'm really angry at this person. They're so mean to me. I can't believe it. I hate them, blah, blah. And then it gets deeper. And then you get into subconscious. The more you write, then you're like going, I'm alone. Nobody loves me. You get to your deeper core stuff. And that's the stuff that is the real issue that you're trying to actually, that you're tapping into where the hurt is.
Yeah. The first experience I had with journaling, because I tried here and there and everywhere, and it just didn't sit with me for some reason. But then I got a bit more serious about some self-development and self-awareness. And I did the Julia Cameron with the morning pages.
Nice.
And no, I swear that was one thing that was so simple for me to do, like a process that didn't take me very long. So it wasn't like I was committing to this huge thing, but every morning you get up, you find your quiet place. If you've got your coffee, your tea, you light a candle, whatever just makes you feel. And then you just write. Yes. And you're not thinking about your writing. And there were some times where I just wrote, I'm bored. I don't know what to write. Just, and that was okay.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong, but that's a simple exercise for people if they do just want to start a little bit, is that morning pages of writing 3 pages, doesn't matter what it is, and just do consecutively and just see what comes up for you. And that's another connected to the body. So we've only got like 2-3 minutes left.
We didn't really get into your sexuality, but okay. It's still like so important.
You can end it.
It's so important. Like what I say is like, again, if you can connect to your body, then you can start to unpack your sexuality and what it means for you. Are you enjoying your sexuality? If not, why not? Then I'd say like, find a therapist to understand why. Like we have so many things. So shame, what is the expectation of women that they are not expected or have the ability to experience pleasure? And that's all false, right? And then of course, our female parts don't work the same as the male parts. So there's a belief that somehow we experience pleasure because we are having a physiological response, but that's not necessarily true. So for women to truly tap into whether or not it's about the feeling state. So if you can connect to your body and then go like, is this actually giving me pleasure? Not if the body's response is like, if you are, if you're experiencing what men would believe, oh, well, you're wet, so that means you must be experiencing pleasure. That's not necessarily true. So as a result, people have to go like, you have to tell your partner what is pleasurable to you from what you're feeling. Right. So, like, even though your body's responding in a way that looks like you're having pleasure or desire, doesn't necessarily mean you are actually experiencing that. And you have to tell your partner, you may believe that because I am this way, my body's showing you that, but that's not actually true, right? It's from how I'm speaking. It's from how my body's engaging. It's from in terms of like, I'm in it with you. Like I'm connected with you. We're having this, experience together. And also from what I'm telling you.
Right.
And having your partner listen to that. Right. So that's just a small snippet about.
I know we could do a whole another show just on that, because I know that one of the things that the slide that you put up was how many women say, if I never had to have sex again, it wouldn't even faze me.
Yeah.
And that's talked to a lot of women, and I know that's a sentiment for the majority that I've talked to. There's a handful that don't.
Yep.
But they're happy and satisfied and fulfilled in that area. But I would say the majority is on the other side of that. And I just want to change that.
I know.
People like you that can help us do that. So that is absolutely a whole nother conversation, but one that is so important. And I think what you said, what you touched on, just to end on that, was having that conversation with your partner, or some people don't have a partner. So
that's true.
Experience that on your own, figure out what that is. And that was something that was never talked about either.
Correct.
I mean, I have a hard time even saying that word. So I'm not one to talk about that. I know you can talk about all that. I'm still uncomfortable with that. But
I know it's sad, but it's so true.
It is very true. Very true. It's up to us to know what feels good. And we can't expect somebody else to know that and to read our minds, which comes back to the whole, I can't read your mind. You got to tell me. So I just appreciate you so much. I appreciate all that you do. And again, you are one of those people that are making the world a better place.
I appreciate that.
For that,
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Vicky, for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us. And for all of you out there watching the replay, if you're joining us live, thank you for being here. And always know that you are more than enough as is. And we will see you next time. Thank you.